time. Hello. Happy
Hello, everybody.
Thursday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Coaches Corner Health. We're talking about social media and how social media affects you, your use of social media. Hi, I'm Leslie Gadet, and I am a mindset and emotional awareness coach for women. I help my clients around their emotional triggers so that they learn about what they're thinking and believing and all of how that works together and how they show up when they are triggered. And so I help them with that.
Yes.
Coach Andy, what do you do?
I'm Coach Andy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our beautiful conversations. I'm Coach Andy, and I tend to help people in ways that they don't typically get help from other ways. I help people find support and support and help really in ways that are different than what they would normally be used to or normally have access to. My ideal client is the person who wants to do things their own way, and I love that. I'm an out of the box kind of a coach. I'm an unconditional kind of a coach. There is no certain recipe that we have to follow in order to do things my way, because I don't have a way. Let's just do whatever you like to do. So that's who I am. Let's start the conversation about social media. That's a big one. I'm not sure we can fit that in an hour.
Yeah, we might have to come back to it a little bit because I think there's like so many ways that we could come at this. But social media has a way of, I think, the usage of social media, even though you try to get away from it, you can't. And as an example, before we segue into our conversation, I asked a question. Someone had asked a question on a group on Facebook about this very thing. And one of the platforms that a woman had commented on that she said, I can't get away from a specific platform. So I actually chimed in and I asked her which one. And she said Clubhouse. She says, I can't help it. We were talking about being able to shut off that whole social media, turning off your laptop, turning off your phone, getting off a screen time so that you can have some downtime. And she said she had a really hard time getting away from Clubhouse because it's a brand new it's kind of like a brand new app for a lot of people who haven't been on as the beta testers for the past year. And like for us Android users, right? We've only been on since, just the beginning of this year. So she was finding it really hard to pull back. So it was quite interesting to have that conversation.
Yeah. And it is interesting because some people, it's funny because a lot of people say, well, we need less time on social media and social media messes everything up and social media this and people complain a lot about social media. And that is professionals and coaches and entrepreneurs and regular everyday people and intelligent people and all, there are all kinds of people who just complain about social media, and yet it's still the thing we do the most in this world. We visit, especially in this time of COVID, we visit with our family and friends on social media way more than we do in person. And even before COVID, I think we were aiming in that direction, that as a society, we were hanging out with our friends and family more on social media than we were in person. So as much as we complain about it, it is still the thing we do most often. So I find that a little bit interesting.
Well, I was just thinking something when you were saying that. I was kind of thinking that it's like the adults' PlayStation, because how kids. Well, I mean, how when you give your kids, they'd have their little PlayStation. Now
I lost you.
Got me? Got me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
All right, here we go.
Hang on a second.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. My headphones were acting up a little bit, so I'll put them back on in a sec. But
sure.
I think what I've noticed is that people will, kids used to have these PlayStations or these little mini things that almost look like our phone, and they'd be playing these games. Well, it's kind of like adults now, or young people and adults. Oh, there we go. Real life happening.
Yeah.
So, and this is their way. This is kind of like the game of life. You're scrolling through and see what everyone's doing. And so it's almost like another form of reality TV, but it's on your laptop going through social media.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you want to lean into that, you can go.
Yeah, sorry. I was just, your video is hesitating a little bit over what your voice was saying. So I was just trying to catch up. So, yeah, technical difficulties happen in the real world. Whether that's on my end or your end, I'm not sure, because my Wi-Fi could be causing the problem. But as far as back to the conversation of social media is concerned, we tend to have an opinion about things that we think other people are doing either more than or in a different way than we think they should be. And so if we, for example, a lot of us older people over, say, 30 or 40, we tend to judge the younger generation for spending too much time on video games, or too much time on social media, or too much time doing this, or too much time doing that. They tend to judge us for, all kinds of things. And yet, most of the time, we don't go on to social media to waste our time. We're there for a purpose. And I think too many of us forget that there's a reason we signed up for these things in the first place. Too many of us forget that we are there on purpose. We're not just, we do spend a lot of time wasting our time there. Yes, we do. But we didn't sign up to social media to waste our time. I didn't sign up to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of the others, Clubhouse especially. I didn't sign up to any of those to waste my time. I signed up to those for a purpose. And what I've done in my life is I've reminded myself why I'm there. And that has helped me to use social media in such a way that it is on purpose, that it is intentional. Even if I am just there wasting a few minutes scrolling around because I'm bored or because I'm waiting for something, I'm still pretty intentional about how I interact. And therefore, social media doesn't affect me as much as I affect it. I'm participating in it in a way that's conscious for me, even when I'm just doing it, absent-mindedly. It's kind of an underlying way that I use these tools, right? It's something I'm doing on purpose. So the idea that people are spending a lot of time on their phones, on their little game machines, or whatever it is that we've been doing, a lot of the time we do those things to distract ourselves from something. It's almost like an addiction, or like a good book or a movie. It's something we do because we don't want to acknowledge a feeling or an event or a conversation that's happening in real life. So we go onto social media where we can pretend something different and live in a different world for a moment. Sometimes 100 different worlds. If we're scrolling long enough, we can live in a bunch of different people's worlds. And I think that's what we do on social media.
Yeah. But I also think on the flip side to that there are positive things about social media, especially in today's world that we're living in, this new virtual reality, is that it can provide connection, and it can provide community if you're in the right places. Now, that really also depends on what you're looking for. If you are on social media and you become discouraged because you start to compare yourself to other people, then obviously it can have its negative side effects. But I think there's also the positive side, which is it can provide, that community. And again, it's all how you use it, how we use it. So it's our use of it. How does our use of it support our life, like our new lifestyle that we're living, right? Because we're now in such a virtual world, and we've had to self-isolate, but now people are maybe intentionally isolating themselves. And then you get the social media use, and how is that affecting? Because then you might have the flip side effect where people were staying safe, but now because they're too afraid to maybe even go out and actually, do something else because they've been staying inside for so long that it's hard for them to even go out and be in public. And so that's their only world is social media,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
so how does that affect their lives? Because again, you know, social media is meant, I think it is this platform, obviously, Facebook that we typically use. This is we're streaming to YouTube, but with Facebook, for example, it's supposed to be a connecting community,
Hmm.
and I think um, for the most part, it has done its job. But then you've got people on there who probably start to use what they learn, what they see, that feed to determine who they are. And so
Hmm.
that's how it can affect them as well, depending on how you use it.
Right. And I think I'd like to examine. I agree with you that how people use Facebook or actually any social media, how we use all
Mhm.
of these social media, including YouTube that we're on right now, or Clubhouse that we both have done or do still sometimes. Um, the how we use it does affect us, and it can have some positive effects. And I'd like to take that phrase that we wrote here on purpose. This was a conscious phrase we chose. How does your use of social media affect you? In other words, what's it doing to you that you're not necessarily conscious of,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of the times we have consequences for using things. Like, for example, an alcoholic was using booze to do something, numb a feeling, or be fun, or to be able to dance or play pool or whatever it is they're trying to do. But eventually they're trying to do that enough that it starts having a negative effect on their life.
Mhm.
And when we say the word affect, how has social media affected you, the connotation of the word tends to be more negative. And I think that is something that we can address in how we talk about it, because we can be affected by these things, and we can also choose how we use them.
Mhm.
And when we make more of a conscious choice, it's less of us being affected by them and more of them being affected by us. When we make a conscious choice, as you and I both do, we're both pretty conscious about how we use social media, what we scroll on, what we react to, what we talk to, what we comment or like. We're pretty conscious of those things. And because we're pretty conscious of those things, the feeds we get on our different social media channels tend to be a lot more in alignment with the kinds of lives we want to lead. Because we instead of social media affecting us, we're affecting how we see social media, how
Mhm.
it presents itself to us. So I think just the word that and like I said, we chose to use that word on purpose because most people feel affected by social media.
Mhm.
And most people feel like social media has got an effect on their life. And I think in my case specifically, I feel like I'm affecting social media. Like I feel like I'm the one making a difference in the world by how I use social media. I'm the one that is consciously choosing how I interact with people on there, who I interact with, what I say, when I say it, how I say it. It's not so much, being conscious of the algorithm or conscious of what, the owners of the business or the runners of the social media channel, not so much conscious of what they're doing, but more conscious of the people and communities that I want in my life.
Mhm.
I'm conscious of talking to the people that I want to be around, interacting with their posts, commenting on their pictures. I'm conscious of making sure that I participate in the groups that I want to stay a part of, that I want to stay an active part of, and I'm conscious of that, and allows me to go onto social media even when I'm brainlessly, aimlessly just wasting some time. My social media feed is still somehow feeding me. It is
Mhm.
actually helping me to have more positive brainwaves, more positive experience of the world, more the kinds of experience that I want to have, more in alignment with what I'm looking for. So rather than social media affecting me, I'm affecting it. And it is about how we consciously choose to use things. And a lot of the time, I think a lot of us don't consciously know that we can do that.
No, I think a lot of people don't realize that. But again, it's you're designing what you want to see by how you interact with what you're seeing in front of you. And the more you interact with specific things, the more of that you're going to see. And that's how you are shaping your feed to present itself to you when you open up, excuse me, whatever platform it is that you use. We talk mostly about Facebook because we both are usually on Facebook, but it's the same thing for Instagram as well. I mean, I think with Instagram,
Mhm.
I think Instagram might be a little different. I haven't quite figured that out yet. If it's just the people that you follow, you start seeing more of that. I'm not really sure about how that works, but I do know with Facebook that what I have noticed for myself in the past 5 years is that my feed used to have specific types of things. I've seen less of that. In fact, a
Mhm.
lot of things that used to come across no longer do because I didn't engage. And I think it's all about what we are engaging in that's really designing our
Mhm.
feed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm experiencing on all the social media channels. That's what I like about LinkedIn as well, or like you said, Instagram, or any of them. The things you interact with, and to a lesser degree, how you interact has an effect on
Mhm.
what they show you, right? And and I think that's one of the things that we can be more conscious of, to have a more positive experience with social media. And the side effect of being more conscious of what we do on social media is we also become more conscious of when and how we use social media. So we
Mhm.
become more conscious. If I'm conscious of what I'm interacting with, and I'm starting to get to run out of the positive community things that I want to interact with, and I'm starting to run into some of those things that I'd rather not see. Well, then I know it's time for me to maybe shut it off and do something different. Or if I'm being conscious about the choices I'm making on social media, by default, I'll also start being conscious of what I do when I'm not on social media.
Mhm.
It's a residual effect. We just tend to be more conscious of what's going on. We tend to be a little more intentional about what we're doing, and that's how we can change our experience of life as a whole. Starting with social media, like starting with how we interact in this, like you were saying earlier, we're in a virtual world right now because of this pandemic. We've been locked down. We've been, staying at home. We've been interacting online. We've been, you know, video calling people, or just phone calling people, and sometimes even just texting or emailing people. So
Mhm.
we've had to stay at a bit of a physical distance, and social media has been the thing that's allowed us to stay connected to our friends and families some of those times. So I'm grateful myself for the ability to do that, for the idea that I'm living, in a basement suite by myself. The only real contact that I can have in a physical sense is my landlord, who lives upstairs. Him and I could talk sometimes, um, and if I want to talk to the rest of my friends and family, I do so online. And
Mhm.
I really like that option is available. That if I am stuck, someplace, whether that's because of something going on in the world or whether that's because of something going on in my personal life, if I'm stuck away from all the rest of the people I want to hang out with, I can still do so on social media. You and I are an entire country apart. Like, we're very a long distance away. It would take us a long time to travel towards each other if we decided to get together physically, and we never have. And that's because we've built our friendship entirely online on social media. And I like a lot of the people that I know only online. And sure, I'd like to meet most of them in person at some point. But because of the way that social media allows us to connect in this way with our
Mhm.
conversations, I really do enjoy it. So I'm thankful. I'm grateful for what social media has allowed us to do.
Yeah, me too. I think for me, how it has affected me as well. Um, it had in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. There has been times where it has affected me negatively, and
Mhm.
that's just because of the things that would comment and share. I think it really began my awareness of how it was really affecting me was back in 2016 during the presidential election in the
Mm-hmm.
US. And I started noticing I started to actually respond to some posts, and I caught myself and realized I'm going down this rabbit hole there's really no one's right and no one's wrong, and I don't want to get into these conversations, these battle of wills between people that are as screen who knows where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I started seeing friends of mine who I've known for a long time having these really toxic discussions back and forth against each other. And I thought this is a negative way how social media can affect you by
Yes.
that what they were allowing themselves to become really emotionally invested in. And that's
Yeah.
when I made that conscious decision. When that moment was my moment of awareness, that I made the conscious decision that I was no longer going to like, share, or comment on any post that was negative. I just thought
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get drawn into those conversations. There's no value there for me to be commenting on someone's opinion, because we all have an opinion and we're all entitled to an opinion. Doesn't mean we're right. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means we have a difference of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
Yep.
how I had to. That is how it allowed me to start shaping my social media feed, was
Mm-hmm.
the moment I took back that awareness of what was affecting me and how and why, because I realized it was because of the actions I was taking on that platform that was drawing that to me. And so when I stopped allowing myself to become involved, because you can become emotionally invested in some of these things, and it's not
Yep.
good for you. And so when I realized that, that's like 5 years ago, like almost 5 years ago, and
Yeah.
literally like within days. And so I really, really grateful to have, that awareness come to me around that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I had a very very similar awareness, a lot more gradual than yours, but it was a
Hmm.
very similar awareness. I started seeing that, the groups that I was joining, I started realizing that the groups that I was joining were showing up on my feed more and more. Or if I made a new friend on Facebook, they would show up on my feed more and more. Or if I joined a new channel on YouTube, they would be the ones I would get more and more alerts for. And I started realizing that these social media channels are watching at very least what I'm joining. And when I
Hmm.
realized that they're watching what I'm joining, I started to be a little more conscious about what they were showing me. And as I was conscious, as I noticed what they were showing me, I started to realize it wasn't just the things that I was joining, but also the things that I was consuming most often. So early on, it would be, if I commented or liked somebody's post or posted something in a certain group, I would get more notice from that group or more posts from that person. And it was a slow evolution for me. I started realizing more and more that how I was using social media, and the kinds of things that I was doing on social media affected what social media showed me. And I started realizing that these AIs they're using to decide what you get shown, are pretty advanced. They're trying to give us more of what we want. They're trying to help
Hmm.
us see the things we want to see and avoid the things we don't want to see. So the next thing that I did after that was I started to remove a lot of the groups that I just don't want to be a part of, and not unfriend, but at least unfollow a lot of the friends that I just didn't want to interact with in their heated conversations. I'm willing to have those heated conversations in person, and I have had many of them. I've even had a couple of friends just stop going for coffee with me because of some of those conversations. Um, and social media didn't do that; the friend did.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and that's what it was for me. As I had a slow and gradual realization that the kinds of things that I was doing on social media was affecting what I got from social media. And I became more and more and more conscious of that. And to this day, I'm still aware of, if I see a post and I stop to read the post, I'm likely to get more two things. I'm likely to get more posts from the person or group that post came from, and I'm likely to get more posts that have similar content to that post. So it does two things. Even if I just stop to read a meme, I'll get more memes that are similar from the same person or other people. If I watch a video through, if I watch 10 seconds of a video or 30 seconds of video, they'll show me more videos. So if I see something coming up, scrolling by, the first thing I'll look at is who it's coming from, because if that's somebody that I want to see less from, I don't care what it is they're posting or how interesting it is. I specifically won't stop on their feed. So it becomes a lot more than just, do I friend this person or do I not friend this person? It's a lot more detailed than that. And as I've learned to do that stuff, it's affected how I do things in real life too.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that you touched on, which I was thinking about, was the AI intelligence, right? So it's not thinking emotionally, it's thinking logically. Yeah. And so our actions are pulling in whatever it is that we're stopping to read, to watch, to comment, to like, to post, to share. All of that stuff it's like it's going into this funnel, and it's spitting out what it thinks we want. And there's no emotion behind it, of course, because it's all about the numbers, it's about the numbers of things that you're stopping on, about the types of things that you're stopping on, not necessarily that it's good for you or content that serves you or makes you feel good about yourself, but it's just going to see, oh, she's stopping there. Well, I'm going to show more of that. Or she clicked on that, so I'm going to show her more of that. And so that becoming aware of the artificial intelligence part of it is another part. But again, this is a platform. If we're going to talk about the social platforms, these platforms are meant for people to be social, and
yes,
they are meant for people to check out what other people are doing around the world, just to get to connected, to get to know each other on a different type of level, because we can't all be in the same room. And so I think, right? And so you think about that and you're like, oh, okay, so I'm going to get a smorgasbord of stuff. Not necessarily is it everything I'm going to want, but now I have to learn to become aware of that and how it's coming in and why. Like, what am I doing that's affecting that AI to say, oh, interrupt her with more of that because she's been on that for a while. And you can start to change it by becoming, like you said, aware of it and becoming less engaged in those types of things. So it's really fascinating when you think about how this is working. And I think that's another reason why people find it extremely hard to get off of it, especially if they go on, maybe even if it's just for a second. Like maybe you go on and you're just checking something because you're waiting for someone to message you back, but you want to check it for a second to see if they messaged you. But then you see stuff and then you start scrolling. It's addictive. Like it is. There's an addictive quality to seeing all of this stuff there. What are people doing? And people are out there and people are more liberal in putting out there what they're doing with their lives. So it's almost like another form of reality television, except it's on a social media platform. And so it fascinates me.
It's a fascinating subject. It's a fascinating subject for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is. For one of the things one of the reasons I'm glad, I'm grateful for social media and what I learned from it specifically is because once I learned this thing you were talking about a few moments ago about the idea that it's following me and it's going to show me more of what I want. And once I learned how to culture my page and how to be conscious of what I'm interacting with and what I'm saying and who I'm saying it to. And once I learned to be more conscious of how I'm interacting on social media, for some strange reason, it also made me conscious of what I was doing in real life. Mm-hmm. And it had a very, very similar effect on my relationships in person. Oh, so okay. as much as we say the AI is watching without emotion, people are too. the people in my life, my friends, my families, the people that I've never met yet,
Mm-hmm.
they're judging me in much the same way that social media does.
Okay.
Because the people that wanted to just make fun of me or make fun of other people or wanted to just, bitch and whine about their lives or about the government or about this thing or that thing, those people stopped talking to me. Those people stopped calling me up on the phone and inviting me out for coffee. And once I became more conscious of what I was doing on social media, and therefore by extension being more conscious of what I was doing in real life, in person, it actually had the same effect on my social life, on my in-person social life, as it did on my social media life. So for me, learning how to do it in the context of an algorithm that doesn't change, at least its rules are reasonably consistent. They do change, but they're reasonably consistent
Mm-hmm.
and reasonably predictable, because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, they're based on logic, not emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
learning how to think that way or how to react that way allowed me to do the same thing in real life and allowed me to be a lot more conscious about the kinds of relationships I was having with real people.
Okay.
Right.
That's
So
interesting.
it allowed me to be, a lot more conscious about what I say to Leslie and how I talk to Leslie and how disrespectful or respectful I might be. And I can still drop the F-bomb once in a while, but I'm conscious of it. Right. And it's not just random conversation to fill time. It's actually being conscious of our conversations. And I think that's one of the things that makes our conversations so powerful for the two of us, whether they're on social media or whether they're just on a call someplace. It's because we do tend to be a lot more conscious of what we say and how we say it. So for me, by extension of learning how to do it on social media through the algorithms and through what social media is showing me, I was able to learn that's actually how I get the attention I want from regular people in regular
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was a lesson. It
Interesting.
was a lesson in social sciences for me, which
Interesting.
which has made it really, really a nerdy issue for me.
No, that's okay. But you know what? It's so funny because again, learning I look at it this way too. So being in a corporate environment, and especially in law, there's languaging. You being consciously aware of what you put in your email. How does it come across? You want to. You might have a specific way of saying something as you're typing it, but not necessarily is it going to translate on the other end. And that has allowed me a lot. I mean, over the years of being, over my tenure of that. And so I've learned about how to communicate effectively through words and being consciously aware of how they're being received.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also, and I think that has also helped with me, in my writing, but also being on social media. How, I think over the past few years, I've definitely improved. Again,
Yeah.
is just learning how to navigate it with how you want it to land. With the things that we see in our feed, again, it's not even just still logic either too. It's they're going to give us what we want, but is it necessarily what we need? Well, that's you can actually manipulate your social feed to start giving you what you need, but then at some point you no longer want those things, and that's still coming across. So you're constantly having to be aware of what you are commenting, sharing, liking, posting, reading, all of that stuff, what you're engaging in, because you want to be able to move your feet along. So it's a great, these social media platforms are great for connection. They're great for learning and finding things out but they're also something that you still have to work it. You still have to be aware of like all of those things so you can change how it reacts to you, because it is reacting to you. And
Yeah.
that's just the nature of the beast. So we have to understand that. But I think a lot of people will get on there and they only see specific things because that is all that they don't allow themselves to expand beyond that, because maybe they're just there for the social aspect of it with just all of their friends. So that's the difference between them and us, because a lot of people are on there for just the social aspect, but we're on there for not only the social aspect, but we're on there for business as well. So I think that's why we have maybe a different look, a different way of looking at social media and how it affects us, because we are consciously aware of how it is interacting with us and the things that come across our feed. And it's different things that we want to see, whether it's social or
Yeah.
whether it's business or
Yeah.
personal, however that looks. So we're aware of that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I like the point that you're making there, that because we're using it for business as well. I mean, obviously, we do both of us post social things,
Hmm.
personal things, the things that we want our friends and family to know about. We do that as well. We do use it socially, but because we're also using it for business as well, we're a lot more conscious of the results we're getting from it. We're a lot more scientific about how we do things on there. We're a lot more, as you said, I was talking earlier about, we're a lot more conscious about how we use it. We're a lot more intentional about how we use it, and we make choices on purpose, because part of the reason we're there is to do business. And so therefore we understand that making business choices is a conscious intellectual choice that you make with a lot of logic. You might use your gut feelings and emotions as well, but with a lot of logic. There
Hmm.
is some scientific analysis or some scientific judgment behind the decisions we make on social media, right? Not all the decisions, but a lot of them. And therefore, we're a lot more conscious of the results of those decisions. We pay a lot more attention to what we get from social media and how we got it and what we did to get us there. And therefore, we're able to see a lot more of the results, because we're trying to get something from it. There's a specific purpose we're there for, above and beyond just being social.
Hmm.
And that allows us a sense of awareness, a level of awareness that maybe a lot of other people don't have. And I like that, because I think that is a good portion of why I was able to culture my feeds, and to then evolve that into my personal life as well, into my professional and personal life as well, is by being conscious of those choices, and how the words that I use and the tone that I use and how I communicate and what I say, those things do affect other people. And if I want to affect other people, whether it's for business or for personal reasons, if I want to, for example, make somebody that I care about feel loved or cared for, I'll be very conscious about what I say and how I say it. If
Hmm.
I want somebody to understand that I just don't care about what they're talking about, I'll be very conscious about what I say and how I say it. Right? I will be very conscious about the results I'm intending to get, so that I use words and body language that get me more likely those results,
Hmm.
which allows me to be more conscious. Again, like you were saying, it's because we're there for business. We have a different level of awareness of what's going on than say a lot of other people might have. That's not to say that other people, that nobody else can have that awareness, um, but most people don't generally think of things on the same level in business as they do in their personal lives.
Hmm.
And I think we have a different perspective because of that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs who use social media have a different perspective of social media for that reason. I think more of them could afford to also.
Hmm. And I think it serves you when you can actually start using it that way. I think I think it would help if even if you are only on there for personal reasons, to have that connection, that you can still I don't know if I would, I'm not sure if I'm going to say manipulate, but you can at least still be consciously aware of
Yes.
what's coming into your feed, and you can start
Yeah.
getting more of the things that you want to see. You know, as an example, my husband told me he's been getting a lot of animal videos. Well, I told him, listen, if this is what you're getting and you're watching and you're liking and you're commenting and you're sharing, you're basically saying to the AI, this is stuff I really dig. So send me more.
Yeah.
So, you know, and so if, and unless you realize that, because, and the reason I think why mostly the people in the entrepreneurial world will talk about this, and they're more aware of it, is just because this is what they're using it for, partly is for business. So they have to be aware of how it works so that they can get their name out there, get their whatever the business is out there, to get themselves seen, to get themselves noticed. And if you were that person who's an entrepreneur and all you're doing is liking and commenting and sharing animal videos, well, you're not really necessarily using the platform to your advantage in the way you're hoping for, because you're just
Unless
using
you're a
it.
vet.
And yeah, exactly. Unless you're a veterinarian, and that's what you were trying to get people who
Yeah.
are into that, so that they now are being directed to you, because that could be very helpful to get people to know, oh, you're a vet, right?
Yeah.
But unless that's you, that's not going to work for you. If you're selling, especially if you're like, say, an example, an MLM, you have a multi-level marketing company, and you want to start selling products, you want to start building your team, but all you're looking at is posts from, you know, people who do memes, or they post about other things that are not relevant to you, but you start liking and commenting and sharing them, and you're laughing away, but you're not really using it to your advantage, because you're not telling the platform, this is what I need more of, or this is what I want, because it's what you need. It doesn't care really what you need. It just wants to know what you want more of. And so it's what
Mhm.
you are doing to tell it by your engagement. And then it says, oh, okay, that's what you want. This is what you're going to get. And that's why I think now, because you and I have talked about being really aware of what's coming across our feed, we are still now doing this on a daily basis, making sure that
Yeah.
what we see
Yeah.
is still what we need and want. If it's not, then we start finding ways to figure out how to have that filtered out. But
Yeah.
it takes work. It does,
It does.
definitely.
It takes conscious intention for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
does.
don't know if it's fun, but I mean,
Sometimes it is.
yeah, I
Sometimes it
mean,
is. For example, I culture my feed to get a lot of puns and a lot of dad jokes.
yeah.
So in that case, there is a lot of fun. I mean, I do get a lot of funny stuff that I get to share,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I'm careful about going into the groups that have like clean dad jokes or family friendly dad jokes. So what I'm sharing is rarely, you know, sexual innuendos or political statements, or it's all just, you know, funny stuff about things that kids do, or interesting ways to think of situations, or, you know, it's rarely anything negative, and I culture that on purpose, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I do. So I agree that this is something that we can use social media instead of being used by social media. Instead of being scared that social media is getting all your personal information, be selective of what information you give it, what you like, what you share, what you spend your time doing. Be conscious of that, because that allows social media to only know what you want it to know, and give you feeds, give you information, even give you advertising based on the information you've intentionally given it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you talk to your friend about having cheated on your spouse, and then your friend keeps talking to you about, you know, cheating stories, are you going to be happy with that friend all the time? Probably not. But
Mm-hmm.
if you never talk to your friend about that in the first place, then you're probably just going to be talking about what you would normally have talked about before. So
Right.
in the same way with social media, share what you want to share, what you want more of, and you'll get more of what you want. Because social media, as you've mentioned many, many times, doesn't know how to know what we need. It only knows how to know what we want. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I want an AI to be able to figure out my needs.
Mm-hmm.
Because if an AI is trying to guess my needs, that I'm no longer in choice. I want to be able to tell social media, I want to be able to tell AIs what it is I want, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily what I need. Because it's going to
Yeah.
have at some point it's going to have some idea of what I need that isn't what I think I need, and therefore I'm going to not want to do what it wants me to do. Like, I'm not going to get the results. Like when our parents were saying, "You need to clean your room." Well, I don't need to clean my room. I don't want to clean my room. I don't care if I have a dirty bedroom. You know, so there were consequences I didn't want,
Yeah.
right? And if AI starts doing that to me, I'm going to get pretty upset.
Yeah, no, I of course. They have to be aware of the choice still has to be a part of the
Right.
equation. And so it's like, what I mean, you have to be intentional about your choices. really,
Yes.
when you're on the platforms, and what you choose to engage in and what you choose not to, and
Yes.
what do you want to see, like really thinking about it, and really asking yourself those questions, like really, what do I want to see? Because you actually have more control over your social media feed than you think. But I think people
Hmm.
just become so comfortable with just the scrolling that they become lost in a lot of things. And probably I know that because I'm aware it's happened. I've seen it where I've looked at other people's things, and on the side, how they like to have, they'll show you something that they know you've been interested in before. I just ignore those things,
Yeah. Me
because
too.
you start clicking on those things, they're going to start coming across your feed again. So it's just
Yeah.
another way to entice you.
Yep.
It's like it's almost like the Hansel and Gretel story with
Yes.
the witch. And it's like, oh, here
Yep.
you go. Here's something, another little thing for you to like start following the trail, and you end up where you don't
Yep.
want. So, but I think though, for me, there has been some great things about social media as far as the
Yes.
connections that I've made. Because as
Yes.
an example, this weekend, well, I've had the opportunity to do this multiple times, but this is another time now where I'm going to be on I'll be on a virtual conference with women from all over the world
Yeah.
streaming live, and it's going to be an all day thing. I mean, now I'm not going to be on all day, but I will
Right.
be speaking. I have my spot that I will be speaking, and it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to doing that. I think it's amazing that I can talk to people in Africa and Uganda, or talking to people over in India or China, or so all
Yes.
of these places. And they'll be on their time zone and I will be on mine. But that's the beauty of a platform as like social media, that it allows you to, again, like you said, you and I are provinces apart. Like we
Yes.
are quite a ways of a distance away from each other, and yet
Yeah.
it feels like we are sitting in the same place because
Yeah.
of this aspect of being able to have a connection through a social media platform. So I
Yeah.
think it's amazing.
Yeah.
There's
Me
good
too.
and there's bad. It's all about how you use it and how you allow yourself to be used by it. Like you said, it's really becoming, it's not a it's like I say about people who don't get into their story of life. Like they moan and complain about how things are so terrible, but they just sit back and don't do anything, but just
Hmm.
complain. And
Hmm.
so you can do that, or you can start doing things in your life and still go through all the ups and the downs, but at least you have some kind of control, or you're at least in it, and you can have some kind of outcome that you're looking for. But when you're sitting over here doing nothing, you just go with the flow, and you sometimes hit and miss, get what you want. But at least over here, you have a better chance if you're in it.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing
Yeah.
with social media. It's like you either can allow it to be something that you can work, and that can enhance your life. And like you said, it enhances your life outside of being
Yes.
online, because it's allowed you to learn how to connect with people online, and it's helped you to form deeper connections with the people in person. And
Yes.
so it's just being aware of that and making that decision. But it's like you either do something or you don't. It's up to you. Like
Yeah.
that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can either do something about what social media, how you use social media, or you can let social media do what it wants with you. And
Mm-hmm.
either way, there's a choice being made by you.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, there's a choice being made by each of us. Each
Yep.
each of us makes a choice in how we use social media, how we interact online, who we talk to, what we say. Each of us makes a choice on how to do that. But most of the time, our choices are unconscious or subconscious. Most of the time, we don't even know we're making those choices. So if you if you're okay with how social media has been affecting your life, then continue to make your subconscious choices and let it happen that way. And if you want to change how social media has been affected in your life, then the conscious choice. The choice is to be intentional about what you do on social media, and be make the world look like what you want it to look like. Make the world what we want it to look like. We can all have a choice as to what we get to do online, in person. And I'm not suggesting that you should change, or that any of us should change how we use social media. I just found that there was some benefit, as you've also mentioned. We've just found that there's some benefit to being a lot more conscious about how we use it. And as I've said, it's also been helped me to be a lot more conscious about how I interact in personal relationships. So it's just been a general improvement for my whole life and all of my relationships with different people, for whether it's friends and family, or, like I said, just people that I've met just now. So I really like what social media has given me the opportunity to do. It's given me the opportunity to learn some of these social skills that I had a hell of a hard time learning before social media came along. Mm-hmm. Because I had a much smaller pool of people to test things out on, and a much smaller test group, a much smaller reaction group. If I have 10 people that I have access to, and I happen to upset one or two of them, now 10 or 20% of my test group is gone. If I do that on Facebook, if I upset one or two people on Facebook, I probably won't even notice, because I'll just end up with different people on my Facebook feed, right? And I probably won't even. And now if I upset half of my Facebook group, it's a much larger group of people. But I know now I have a much bigger test group, a much bigger amount of feedback, and therefore I can get an idea of what I did and what the cause of the event was. Whereas often if I just do that to one or two people in person, we don't even talk about it. They just stop talking to me, and I don't know why. And I actually experienced a lot of my life that way. I didn't know why. And as soon as I got on social media and started seeing the why, I could actually test things out and actually try things in person, or not in person, but in reality. I could try things on a large scale. I was able to see what works and what doesn't, and what the different platforms do and what they don't, and how to teach myself how to learn what these social skills actually are, how to be respectful, how to be authentic, and still be myself, and not have to be mean or selfish or uncaring. I can be authentic without having to be derogatory or sarcastic all the time. And that's what I used to be. And a lot of us have turned to sarcasm because we don't know how to deal with these emotions otherwise. So social media is, I'm like, as I've mentioned a couple of times, I'm grateful for what social media has allowed me to do and build these kinds of relationships. Our friendship exists because of social media, and I'm quite grateful for that, because of the conversations that you and I get to have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. I think that it has really, what's really been good for me too about social media is because I live such a nomadic lifestyle, because I'm not in one place all the time. It allows me to stay connected to family and friends and to my life, because I'm not in one place. So I can't see everyone all the time. And that's really kind of why I got onto the platform in the very first place years ago when I was living in Florida. And that was because all of my family was in Canada, and I wanted to be able to be connected to them. And I found out about this new platform that could go on, that could be connected with people. And I thought this was such a fantastic thing. Like, it was incredible. And so it's really been an asset to me. It's been something I'm really grateful for, because it has allowed me to keep my connections, to not only form new friendships, because I have a lot of great people now that I'm connected to, like you and I have had this friendship for a long time now. And I feel like and we've never met, but this is the power of having social media, and you're able to have these connections. And I love these connections. And so for me, yeah, I'm very grateful to have to have have access to something like this. Otherwise, way back when, there wasn't this, and the way you connected was picking up the phone, meeting
Yeah.
in person,
Yeah.
traveling to go see someone. And so this really makes a difference because now it allows people to connect across continents, across
Yes.
the ocean. You don't have to
Yes.
be in the same city, the same town, the same, you don't even have to be in the same country in the same hemisphere. You can be anywhere else around the world and you can make these connections. So I think it's amazing and I love
Yeah.
it. So I'm going to
Yeah.
let you take us home because we are at the top of the hour, 5 minutes left. So I'm going to let you finish out because you always have something awesome to say. I want you to be able to at least leave our viewers with some magical, not magical, but something that they can, use to help them as they navigate the next time they're on social media.
You have such confidence in my ability to do
I
such magical things.
do.
thank, thank you for that. I don't always have that same confidence in myself, so thank you for that. What I think, people can get from this conversation, can really learn from social media, is how social media affects you is a result of how you affect social media, and by extension, how you show up to social media. How you show up on social media is a reflection of how you show up in real life, and vice versa. How you show up in real life is a reflection of how you show up on social media. They interact back and forth. If we can be conscious as a society, much more conscious about how we show up on social media, the kinds of things we do on social media, we will become happier and more fulfilled in our real life, in our regular everyday life, because we will become also more conscious of how we interact with people off of social media. So that's what I would share with everybody. I think the thing that I would like to see more of in our society is that we use social media intentionally, with a purpose, for a reason. We connect with people that we want to connect with. We join communities we feel alignment with or that we get support from. And we interact with those communities in such a way that we're both giving and receiving that support and that connection. Build friendships. Be conscious of what you're trying to do. Be intentional. And instead of saying, oh, this is hating me and this is causing me this and this is causing me that, decide to cause things instead of being caused, having things cause or do things to you. Instead of having things cause a result for you, cause the result for yourself, or cause the result for that thing, for someone else. Help someone feel something on purpose. And if you happen to be one of those vindictive, mean people, then you can do that too. And if you happen to be one of those nice and kind people, like most of us are, I think, then you can help other people feel compassionate and kind by showing them your love. You can do so on social media much more easily than you can in real life. And you can do it to a lot more people on social media than you can in real life. The connection isn't less powerful. Instead, it's more powerful. So let's live in a world like that. That's the world I want to see. A world where we share our kindness and our compassion and our love and our empathy. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you all for listening and for showing up and for participating in the conversation. Thank you, Leslie. I love these conversations. This has been brilliant.
Yeah, I love it too. I think it's a great conversation that we've had, and I'm excited. Actually, I don't even know what we're gonna do in a couple of weeks. This is what's so great about this channel is it doesn't have to be scripted. It doesn't have to be like pre-planned out. We have
Right.
ideas.
Sure.
We've got our ideas. I'm not saying
Sure.
that we're just like fly by night, but I just love the fact that there's no prep for these calls except that we know the topic and we just get into it and we dig into it as real people. And we come
Yes.
from a place of authenticity. Like we just come from a place of our own experience and who we
Yes.
are and
Yeah.
we should share. And that's what I love about these conversations. So
Me too. Me too.
thank you. So yeah.
Thanks everybody, and please make sure to like and to share and to subscribe and hit that little bell so you get notified when we're going live again. Like, make sure you do all the things that YouTube likes to know that you're watching us.
Yep.
that will help you get more of the experience you're looking for from YouTube. And we'd like it if you listen to us more too.
Yes, we would. Definitely. We'd love for you to join us. And we're going to be back here on November, I believe it is November 11th, which is the second Thursday of next month. And then the 25th. So we will see you then. Thanks, guys, for coming in. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free. We'll get back to you, I promise. All right. Have a great night.
Thank you. See ya.